Year ago, I said this.
Welcome to Mystic Arts, where we believe any problem at your gaming table can be solved with the right tool at the right time. My name is Daði and I've been running Dungeons & Dragons in the same campaign setting for just about 10 years. I've run adventures for somewhere north of 70 players, including the same group for about half a decade. Most recently, I finished an epic 6-year campaign complete with 230 sessions that took the players from level 1 to 20. I'm also a professional writer and director, currently working in the games industry.
And it has been a wild ride since then. I remember me and Aby were talking about we wanted to do something together, something that we could just do, the two of us. We're both creative professionals who never really got a chance to work together or do anything sort of us just as a collaborators or whatever. So we wanted to figure out something that we could do. And I'd been wanting to do this whole, YouTube thing about D&D for ages. I remember being very inspired by Matt Colville when I was dungeon mastering for the first time. I was experiencing my first DM burnout, and a friend of mine introduced me. And ever since then, I've just actively been watching the D&D YouTube space and getting constantly inspired by it. And when running the game ended, I was like, I need there to be this kind of content out there for new DMs or DMs who've been doing it for a while, and they're looking for ways to level up. And I say in that trailer video that I just clipped that it's about taking the jump from novice to adept. So something that you've already done and then you're hoping to level up your game. And I figured that, as somebody who's been doing it for a little bit, maybe I could give a little bit of insight on that. So I did not think at all that this was going to go like this. I was incredibly surprised. I remember we uploaded these videos. All of my friends were hanging out in November last year, on November 7th, I think, as I was finishing up editing a few videos. And I said, I can't join. I have to finish up these YouTube videos. I want to get 5 done for my anniversary. And then we posted them online. I sent them to my friends on Discord, and I sort of sent them to my coworkers. I posted in some subreddits and Facebook groups I was in. And, over the course of the next few days, we got a couple of hundred views, and I thought, that's excellent. I love that has happened. That was an incredible success. I was hoping that someday we'd get to like 1,000 subscribers. That would have been amazing. And then I go to sleep one day, and I wake up the next day, and suddenly we've got 1,000 views on a combat video, which had been sort of the worst performing video at the start. And I did not understand what was happening. I genuinely thought that there had been some kind of bug, or that we were getting played somehow, or a trick was being worked on us. And I kept watching the analytics over the course of that day, and I could not figure out what was going on. So I immediately go to AB, and I'm like, we have to make another video. We have to make another video right now. Let me do a video on 5 Room Dungeons. And I think we wrote and shot and released that over the course of like 3 days. That was our 6th video on the channel. And we got it out as fast as we could. And already people in the comments were going, this guy's got a backlog. There's no way he's doing it this fast. Which I thought was really funny, because I think that's sort of our worst produced video. Although I think the script's all right, and I think the advice is pretty good. But I remember watching it afterwards and being like, what's going on with the lighting here? And why is the audio so bad? And all these things. But since then, we've just continued doing it, and we've been trying to make sure that we're doing it at a steady pace. I want to try and get out at least 1 video a week, and sometimes we're doing 2. We continued working on it then, and I think in January or February, I sort of sat down at my desk and I recorded a little bonus video at my desk and did the Obsidian one. And since then, it's kind of been a persistent need of mine to make these things, because I really like being able to help people out. I really love it when people are commenting the kindest things I could possibly imagine. They're talking about their games or how everything's going, and how they attribute some of that to the stuff we're doing, which I think is absolutely mind-blowing. And I never thought we'd have this kind of reception. So I'm in awe. There was a lot of questions early on, like, who are you? And you came out of nowhere, and my reaction was the same. I was like, who are you people? How did you get here? I didn't post it in anything this popular. I don't know what's going on. But apparently that's how the YouTube algorithm works. For some people, I think we just had sort of a lucky break with that combat video. And ever since then, I've been consistently pinching myself at the entire reality that's unfolded. If you're not familiar with me, I'm now going to say the thing. Welcome to Mystic Arts. My name is Daði. I'm a professional writer and director, and I've been DMing for over 10 years. And oh my god, hi everybody. There's a bunch of people in chat. Click these buttons. I've got a stream deck. I don't know. Look, I can zoom and cut and things. Sorry, I shouldn't be futzing around. Somebody might get a headache. There's super chats already. Guys, we just started. Oh my god, Zero, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Nathan Bush. I've been loving the arts. You've inspired me to put more thought into my games, and every video has helped tremendously. Happy anniversary, Mystic Arts. Thank you. Tak Valur, thank you so much. It's just been a wild thing sort of going on the internet and saying hi to everybody. We quickly made a bunch of friends on like Discord with like other dungeon tubers, and we organized with my friends Paladin Pros and Naigobi and Lunatic Dice the Dungeon Jam, which was sort of an idea to bring collaborators together and creators who were doing D&D videos or TTRPG videos, whether it was Pathfinder or OSR or whatever, and just make dungeons, because we wanted to make sure that we were giving stuff back to the community that they could use. And I remember being incredibly proud of all the videos that those people made and being so happy that we got to talk about them on the channel and be like, hey, listen, there's a bunch of free dungeons you guys can use. It's just been incredible. I cannot believe that. So a year ago, we started this thing. And the whole time, I've sort of been trying to figure out how best to do it. I'm still learning. I'm still making a ton of mistakes. And, I've done directing before, like I say in every video, and I've done a whole bunch of editing my entire life. But the whole thing has always been this sort of working on like creative, movies or arts projects or whatever. So the idea that I now get to do that at a rapid pace and I get instant feedback, that's the great thing about doing YouTube, is that I make something and a couple of days later it exists and people tell me what they think about it, and I get the data, which, the YouTube data, sometimes that's really crushing if a video is performing poorly. But oh my god, Naigobi. Thank you so much for being such an incredible inspiration, heart and soul of the D&D community. This past year, you have been a shining beacon of what friendship should be in the content space. Thank you, Gobi. Thank you. Gobi's one of the leaders in this Dungeon Jam thing. I've just been so happy that we found all you folks there. If you haven't checked out Naigobi, you guys all should. She's a moderator too. Look at that. I forgot we made you a mod, Gobi. Hi, everybody. I can already see there's questions, but the chat just sort of blitzed past, so I might have to scroll up it a little bit. I remember Trek asked before the video started what my favorite video we made, before the stream started, what my favorite video we made was. And I don't know if we're going to do a Q&A thing, but I have been thinking about it. I've been trying to figure out if I have a favorite. I think the one I'm proudest of is the hex crawl video, because we went outside, and you don't often get to go. You don't often get to go outside when you're talking about D&D, do you? I think I have a video this month, hopefully, fingers crossed, where I brave the outside world again. I want to talk about how to run cities, and I'm really excited about the idea of using Reykjavik as an example of how to do that. Thank you, Beyond the Circle. Wow, everybody's being so generous. Your house is almost done. Gobi's been rebuilding her house. Congratulations on your shower. That's got to feel like a victory. Thanks, Colin. Thank you so much. Bob made it his thing. I know, right? I thought I remember texting Bob. I was like, "Hey, can we go outside for a video? Can you be in it?" And he was like, "Daði, I don't own the outside." I was like, "Oh, sorry." It was almost like he was incensed that I'd asked. I was like, "I'm so sorry. Do you want to be in it though?" The Hexcrawl video I think is one of my favorites, but the writing I'm most proud of is the one on rendering scenes. I remember Avi came out after I'd written that script. She'd done an editing pass and we were going to film it real quick because we wanted to get a video done ASAP. And she was going, "Where did you see this term? Where are you getting this from?" And I'm like, "I don't know, I just made it up." So I I don't know. I got really proud of that because I think it's a good analogy that sort of helps DMs make sure they're continually describing the scene, right? They're always talking about it. So writing wise, it's got to be the render video, and production or directing wise, it's the Hexcrawl video. And thank God for that Hexcrawl video, because I without it we would not have been able to do this professionally. Over the course of a year, somehow, this has now become my job. I used to work at a video game company called Midgard Games, and I made a game. I directed and wrote on a game called Echoes of the End, which just got its enhanced edition released a few days ago, like a week ago, and the reviews are spectacular because they really overhauled all the things people were were annoyed at about some of the things that we're a limited team, we're a small group of people, and there were all kinds of things that we wanted to fix, and we got that feedback from the community and made a new edition. I say I wasn't involved in the enhanced edition at all, but I remember talks of it when I was leaving, because I had to go chase this YouTube thing. I had to see if I could make it work, and the Hexcrawl video was kind of the key in that, because we had a little Patreon packet as a part of it, and that on its own has sort of been able to make sure that we could even start thinking about doing this full time. So apparently that really worked. Thank you, Nathan. So I'm gonna have to go read on chat, because you guys are talking fast, and I feel terrible if I'm not responding to these. Do you plan on doing a video sometime running a grittier D&D game, perhaps something Bloodborne-esque? I don't know. I got Taryn, Indestructible Boy, sent me a copy of Vagabond for a sponsorship that we were doing, but I've been wanting to play Vagabond ever since I heard he was working on it, and I've been really excited reading it. So I'm very excited about the idea of running something a bit more pulp, and especially something OSR. I've gone to I went to Edinburgh a couple of weeks ago, and me and AB went all over Edinburgh and all over Glasgow, looking through game stores trying to find a copy of Shadowdark, and we couldn't. And we talked to our nerd store here in Iceland, which I think is one of the best nerd stores I've ever been to, probably the best nerd store I've ever been to. And they were like, no, I think you have to get it online. So I might have to just buy a copy of Shadowdark online and then play that. We haven't done one of these Q&A catch-ups in a while. Did I say thank you to Beyond the Circle? Beyond the Circle is one of those commenters that I recognize. They've been around for ages. You always post like raised hand emoji or prayer emoji or something like that. God, everybody's being just really kind in chat. Luxembourg, hello Andrew, Cal. I'm sorry, now I'm just reading chat. Snowy New York. We had an incredible snow, Gobi, just a week ago or so. It was a record amount of snowfall for October in Iceland. It was huge. I got into a fender bender. AB told me you have to drive really carefully, Daði. It's really slippery out there. And I had both hands on the wheel. I was checking my mirrors, and I was driving very gently. I was driving very slowly and gently. And I was like, if I do something stupid now and I crash the car, I'm never going to hear the end of it from AB. So a bus stops in front of me, and I slow down to a halt, and I bring it satisfyingly to a stop. And then in my rear view mirror, I just see this car coming up and then swerve, and then I feel a bump, and my shoulder hurt a little bit, and then there's a teenager on the phone in the other car, and she's freaking out, and I was fine, and the car was fine. It was just a scrape, really. It wasn't a big deal, but she was freaking out. It was probably her first crash, but I was like, listen, we live in Iceland. This is why we pay a premium on our car insurance, because this happens every year. Thanks, Soren Voshawk. I'm glad to hear you've been enjoying Echoes of the End. We put a lot of work into that. That was 7 years of my life, believe it or not, founding that company. I wasn't one of the founders, but I was one of the earliest employees, and I'm incredibly proud of the stuff we did there. Everyone's just being very kind in chat. You know, I should do this. I should have an anniversary every day. How much basic stuff do you still have to talk about? I guess it's easy to run out of ideas at some point. Felletus DE. Is DE Dutch? Or is that just, your name? How much basic stuff do I have left to talk about? I think we wrote down early on in the channel, before we recorded anything or before I even wrote a script, I was like, how many ideas do I have? And we wrote down, I think, 120 pitches for advanced DMing techniques. And given that we do those once a week, sometimes we do bonus videos, but they aren't those from that original 120 list. That according to that, I have another year and a half before I have to even think of another idea, and I still come up with about 4 new ideas a month. So I don't think I'm going away anytime soon. I just love this stuff. And whenever I play or whenever I run, I have a notepad next to me or have my character sheet or whatever. I am always writing down ideas for videos because I see the DM do something or I see a player do something or I notice how I responded to a question and I go, I should really talk about this. So I don't think I'm running out anytime soon. Greenforth, it's pretty wild to get nearly 750,000 subs in your first year. Yeah, we were thinking back on it. I think we got 20K in 2 months, which was insane. Like, that was a wild time to be alive for me because we did not know what we had done. We didn't really understand what was happening. And people in our lives were already asking, like, when are you going to do this full time? And I was like, that's ridiculous. We're never going to do that. And, I don't think I was wrong to answer in that way because the money you get from like YouTube ads is never enough to cover expenses. And that's sort of how I've been thinking about it. I've been like, this YouTube, we get a little bit of ad revenue. We can use it to buy books or minis and, props for the videos and stuff we can play with and that kind of stuff. So I never thought this was going to be a job. It did not occur to me. Thanks, Rogo. Thanks, BJ Abaddon. Thanks, everybody. Dang fool, I've been playing D&D since 1977 and enjoyed DMing a lot those first 10 years. It's how I met my wife. Hey, awesome. That's one of the first things me and AB did together. It's embarrassing to learn your tips. The thing is, though, it's not about the time you spend. It's about the fact that it's another brain. I'm certain, dang fool, if you and I sat down and talked about D&D for an hour, I'm certain I would learn an invaluable amount from you because you're a different brain than my brain, right? That's how people share ideas. It's not about experience. Thanks, Fellar Music. God, everyone's just been so nice here. I'm really quickly catching up. Found this channel 2 months ago and you've inspired me to DM again. Thanks. This is the stuff that makes my heart flutter. I wanted to do this just because I was hoping to give somebody the fuel and drive that I remember getting from watching several videos of different people on the internet all over. I would watch and I'd get ideas. I remember watching Pointy Hat's video on the Feywild, and he had an adventure in that, and I just ran that as is. I think there's a great deal of value in talking to other nerds, and I think the internet is a great medium for it. So I really believe in the idea that we can all just sort of help each other out and talk and learn from each other as we're talking through whatever it is, whether it's me talking about it or somebody else. The rendering video, yeah, the lighting video, yeah. I remember being very happy with the lighting video. How do I make my descriptions vivid, especially if they go off script? Edward, go check out our rendering video. It's not about landing in the first go. It's about continually rendering details out as you go along. You can find those little details. You can add them on top, and it sort of layers the imagination. It's not about saying a sentence so good that everybody gets it. I don't think you can do that. I don't think anybody can do that. I think what you do is you sort of continually add little bits, and slowly you create a visual in your player's head that makes them understand what it is you're talking about. How goes your video game? Scott Turnell, it's out. It's done. Echoes of the End. So that's available right now if you're interested. And I'm no longer working there. This is my job now. Question, how do you think about the expressive value of TTRPGs as an art form, comparing your experiences in film and video games? I think those are two different art forms, the TTRPG art form. And there is the writing a good RPG, like Triangle Agency or something that has a point, something that is trying to communicate a specific tone or a specific environment. that is one thing, and that's something I find incredibly fascinating, but I'm not the best person to talk to about that because I tend to play mostly the same RPG because I'm more focused on a different art form, which is what players and DMs do together at the table. And to me, that's equally valuable. And I think both of those things, they help each other out, like they have a bridge between them. But you can do one or the other, and you don't have to do both if you want to just do whichever one excites you, right? But the difference is that systems can be incredibly inviting. They can create a certain kind of storytelling, but so can table tone or a rapport with your players. All of those things come together to make what I think is the art. And I have a video about this a little bit coming out next week. I'm talking about showmanship. And as a DM, you kind of have a job to be a showman, so you can make it easy for your players to understand what kind of art is expected of them. And then you can get them to have expectations upon you because you are each other's audience in the art form, right? If that makes any sense. Rick Fogg, $50. Thanks, Brickfog. I will keep up the great work. I have to now that you've done that. I have to make sure to, I have to make sure to earn that. Good God. Nate McGray, been around since the first batch of 5 videos. Thank you so much. Yeah, Marcus, exactly. I like, sharing ideas. You have 2 veteran DMs at your table, and one of them said to you, the way you do X is really good. I'm going to do that. 100%. I've been doing this for a while, and sometimes somebody new comes up and is DMing, and I get to play in a new DM's game or somebody who hasn't DM'd that much, and I'm usually in awe of them. I'm usually amazed at what they're doing and how they're doing it, and I usually find something that I want to talk about in a video or that I want to try for myself. I am always learning, and I don't think I'm stopping learning at any time soon. Binary Kitten, has it only been 1 year, right? For me, it's been like a COVID time soup. It's this kind of thing where it's somehow been an eternity, but also it's been just a few minutes. Literally, I feel like it was the other day we were like, how are we going to do this? We should set up a Miro board with ideas. I'd love to see another Trek Hero session with the same group again. Yeah, that was really fun. Trek's game Flarefall, he made a game and he made his own like D&D Beyond for it, and he invited several of us dungeon tubers to play, and we had a blast. I was playing a therapist. I think it's some of the most fun I've ever had playing, especially online. Awesome, Indigo. Good luck with your hex crawl. Yeah, good luck with Strahd, Hunter Wolf. That sounds fun. Do you have a recommended book to develop in the mind of world building or storytelling? No, not really. I think Taldosakas, if you can just get inspired by stuff that isn't necessarily TTRPG stuff, you might find that there are things there that get you excited, and just getting excited means you're going to do a better job. Build a party with European dungeon tubers. I keep telling the Europeans they should just fly here and I'll run a game for them. I've been meaning to set up an actual play space. We've got the cameras for it now. I'm missing the microphone, shotgun microphones for it, and the soundboard that I need to plug them into. But once I've got those things going, I can build an actual play studio, and I'd love to get into that like early next year. And set games in my own campaign world. And if the Europeans want to fly out to do that, I'd be happy to host them, and that would be a blast. Zero, wow, that's 3,000 Argentinian monies. I don't know how much that is, but thank you so much regardless. Any advice on how to get a quiet player more involved? I play online and I have a player who doesn't interact unless I have an NPC speak to him directly. Sometimes it seems like I'm forcing him to talk. He seems to be having a good time, but I feel like I'm forgetting he exists. Well, sometimes people don't want to be put on the spotlight. Now, you can try and ask them like what they like about RPGs and try and involve that stuff. If this is a more of a power gamer sort of character, player who just wants to get cool magic items and kill monsters, make sure to put in a scary monster for them to kill and make a whole thing about that and put them in the spotlight. It's you versus this monster. Try and find other ways that they might be engaged. But there are plenty of players who are at their happiest when they're just sitting around a table, or in your case, around a Discord call or whatever, and they're just having a conversation with their friends and they're rolling dice and they're a part of a community. So if they're having fun and they feel like they're having fun, then you're not doing anything wrong. But if you want to see if you can get them to sort of bounce back and forth with you a little more, you could try making sure that you're weird enough that they feel like if they do a little bit, they're not that weird. Maybe they're just in their shell, but which it is, I can't diagnose for you. You're gonna have to get started on that yourself. You would have gotten there, Alto. Thanks so much, though. Hi, Iantel. How you doing? Is there a creature, Leonardo Louise asks, is there a creature, event, or location from your local folklore that you'd like to have used, or you would like more people to get to know about? I have a favorite Icelandic folklore. It's called Djákninn á Myrká, or the Deacon of Dark River. And I would totally love to use that guy. He's kind of like our version of a headless horseman. He's a deacon. He's like a priest from a church, and he's got a horse. He picks up his date and like sings, and she spots on the back of his head a white spot from when he fell off his horse and shattered his skull. And he says an Icelandic rhyme to her to sort of point this out to her. He can't say her name. Her name is Guðrún, which has God in it. And because he's undead, he can't say God. It's a Christian myth, right? So he says Garún, not Guðrún. I don't know if that's gonna make any sense to anybody, but he says Guðrún. Dauðinn líður. Hang on a minute. Mánin líður, dauðinn ríður, sérðu ekki hvítan blakk á hnakka mínum, Garún. And then she goes, oh my god, he's a zombie. They get a wizard, they kill him. Classic D&D nonsense. I'm still trying to get caught up on chat. D&D Tube is wild. That is true. Neon Benuni. Thank you so much. God, thanks. Thanks, guys. When you're DMing, do you ever have to take long pauses in order to think about what's going on, what's going to happen next after the players have done something unexpected? 100%, all of the time. Sometimes they just ask me a question that seems like an obvious question to ask, but I had not thought about the answer. So then I have to go think. Sometimes I just ask for a die roll. I'm like, could you make for me a knowledge check? And then they start picking out their dice and they go find what their stat is. And meanwhile, I'm thinking. And then they roll and they go 12. And I go, oh, well, if you'd gotten a 15, I would have told you more. Sometimes I don't know more, but sometimes I do. And then I try and tell them what I think. Sometimes they do something so unexpected, I say, let's take a break. And they all go, ooh. And then I go to the bathroom and I stare at myself in the mirror and I go, what am I going to do now? All kinds of stuff. Yeah, 100%. I may seem confident in the videos where I'm talking to the camera, but that's because the camera has a teleprompter on it and I just read the prompter and it makes me look more competent than I actually am. What's your take on Dragonbane? I thought it was a lot of fun. I really liked the art. I was put off by the amount of optional rules. There was so many of them, and I was so new to all of this. I'd never played Dragonbane before or games like it. So I think there are something like 12 or 13 optional rules, and some of them play with the willpower rules and the class rules, and some of them I thought were really cumbersome and some were really clever, and I could not for the life of me figure out which ones I should use before I started playing. So the whole time I was sort of fighting with that part of the system. But the setting that comes, especially in that box, the setting that comes with and the adventure in there, I think is sort of excellent D&D, like, or I just mean like fantasy RPG stuff. Like you go into this valley and it's full of monsters and there's dungeons and there's a plot that interconnects all of them. I thought that was brilliantly designed. Whoever worked on the box, the adventure valley that you're in, and designed those adventures to knit together, I think they did a brilliant job. Lenny asks, what do you think of the usage and capability of TTRPGs being pedagogic tools? Hang on. I know so many words in Icelandic that you don't know, but I'm going to have to Google this English word. Oh, like teaching. I think just learning empathy. I think like sitting opposite your classmates or whatever and talking to them and looking them in the eye and trying to figure out how they're feeling about whatever's going on, I think is very important. And I think that's a sort of important bit of socialization or whatever that kids can do with doing. And also, more than that, so much of school these days, or just as well when I was growing up, I don't mean to sound like it's a modern problem, but so much of schooling is like fitting into boxes and being sort of hemmed in. And the idea of just letting kids imagine stuff with an adult and that not being weird, I think is incredibly valuable. And I think it would create a better society if more people got more used to it. Question, do you have any upcoming collabs with other creators? Yes, Thomas Fitch and I are going to be looking at the new not Unearthed Arcana, the Forgotten Realms book, and we're going to talk about the stuff in there. He's got the series where he sort of goes through and says whether or not class abilities are good. I think they call it "Can it get it?" or "Does it fuck?" I think Gobi may have come up with that. You're gonna have to ask her, but he asked me to be on it, and I was really excited about that. Trek, when are we meeting, and do I bring pizza? You could bring pizza. I mean, from France, probably not. If you're gonna bring food from France, I'm pretty sure it's a crime if you bring pizza. Hey, Food Dog DM, thanks so much for joining. Same with you, Edward Elric. But Trek, just come over and I'll bring the pizza. Ever better. Best advice I got from Daði. Know your worth. Changed my game group, and it's so much better since then. Yeah. If your players are not appreciating the work you're putting in, then either they have to learn to appreciate it, or you have to learn to make sure that you're treating yourself nicely and you're not, trying to people please your players, and instead do the thing that you're excited about doing. Hrogar, is there any connection between channel membership and Patreon? If you're a channel member, you get access to the Discord. If you're a Patreon of the lowest tier, hang on. Oh, if you're a Patreon of the... Wait, that way? If you're a Patreon of the novice tier, you get access to the Discord. So it's the same as being a channel member, but on Patreon we get a slightly larger cut. And I also think it's slightly cheaper, or maybe not, I don't know. And then if you're an apprentice, that means you get bonus videos, like Daði's Diaries, where I sort of go through my session prep notes and talk about the games I'm running at the moment. You also get Game Tales, which is kind of like a podcast that I do with my players talking about old campaigns that I've run. And if you join at the Adept tier, which is the highest tier, you will get access to our digital magazine, the Broadsheet, which is a setting guide to Blackguard with an adventure in it, a mystery that's set aboard a train. The train has like a lead box that nobody knows what's in. And trying to figure out who's getting it, why is it here, and then, some smugglers show up and all these kinds of things. That adventure has a timeline baked in, maps of the train, arts of all the characters. It looks gorgeous because we had an amazing artist do a whole bunch of work on it. Both Brimrún and AB did art on it as well. Those are the things that are just on the Patreon. If you're just hoping to get into the Discord, the channel membership will do just fine. But either way works if you're trying to get into the Discord. Tom Toro, DMing game for their wife. Thank you so much. I'm happy to help. Destiny and honesty. Before Mystic Arts, I was losing touch with my desire to learn and grow as a DM. Thank you. You didn't say that I was able to help, but I assume you meant that, and I'm very grateful. The Horned Rat. I have a sort of big question. It's not that I'm out of ideas. Your video about planning campaign was the thing I was already doing, but my players are rarely motivated to play. Every 2 or 3 months. Man, I don't know. I think you better make sure that the next session, when you get them, do something radical. Don't do whatever's up next. Change, speed up, hit the accelerator. Make sure that the most cool thing you can think of, or the most cool thing that you've got planned ahead, if you're planning campaigns ahead, take the next cool thing, the dope thing you want to do it next session. Make sure you get them hooked. Now maybe they just don't want to play as much as you want to play. That's a problem that you could only fix in 2 ways. Either they have to change their mind, or you have to change your players. I remember at one point I sent out a scheduling poll and asked my players when they wanted to play, and one of them marked every day as busy. And I asked, what's this about? And he said, I've got a job. And I'm like, we've all got jobs. We're all choosing to do this. And he said, well, I don't want to do it on the weekends either, because I want to be ready to go to sleep for my job. And I thought, oh, well, that's a weird way to tell me you don't want to play D&D. And he was like, well, I guess so. and then he was out, right? And no lost blood. He had a bunch of minis in our closet. We swapped them over. It was like a little bit of a breakup. Like it was a permanent member of the group, but we had to split the minis and all that kind of stuff. But the game I wanted to run and the game he wanted to play wasn't the same game. So, sometimes you do need to break up. Sometimes that's what's healthy for you. Me and Abby are doing great, by the way. Thanks, Wolfpack. Have you tried your hand at writing a more conventional novella or other linked story based on your campaign's events? No, not really. I've done little short stories, like 20-page novellas or novelettes or something, that I sent out to my players as sort of, hey, do you want to play? Here's the thing that happened before the adventure started. And I think they all read it. They all told me they did. But if you're thinking about doing that, you don't be surprised if your players don't. That your mileage may vary. But I never really took the idea of doing that too seriously. When and how, Max Shore asks, do you deploy maps? I love making maps, but never sure if it should be used by the players or not. If I place out the bad guy's lair and they know where the lair is. Oh, right. Well, I tend to do sort of public-facing maps. What kind of stuff is public knowledge, and I put that on the map. And I show the maps all the time. It's the only thing that I can create as an artist that will get my players to understand or look at the world or get a better sense of it. If I could draw, I would do that. But despite drawing as a kid, I didn't have the discipline to keep it up, so I never got good at it. But I can do maps, so they're a good way to hook your players in. Anything you can do to go the extra mile and be a bit of a showman. So, hey, look, I made this. I think that is a huge boon that you can do, and you should do it when you can. Thanks, Makoto. Oh my god, I'm way behind on chat. How do you roleplay NPCs? Is it about noticing different behaviors, manners of speaking about different people? Yeah. You can do like 50 different things to differentiate NPC voices. Sometimes I do posture. I'll sit up straight or I'll hunch over. Sometimes I'll do a voice. Sometimes I'll pick different words. Sometimes they don't say a lot or they talk on endlessly. Sometimes they sort of drone. Other times they enunciate. You can do all of those things. I just wouldn't do them all for every NPC. Just pick a couple of tricks. Imagine writing out all the tricks all like 30 of them. You don't actually do this, but imagine writing down, these are all the accents I can do, these are all the different postures I can do, these are all the different ways I can change the inflection of my voice. Pick 2 or 3 of those, that's your character's voice. You can write that down next to his name in your prep notes or whatever. That's the character's voice. Anything else, you just leave. You can use those tools later, and then you can build a big library. Hi, Owen Mecki. Welcome to Mystic Novice. I appreciate the support. Question, what do you think of the approachability of TTRPGs for kids? Do you think the next generation of gamers have adequate tools to learn them? I don't know. I don't talk to kids all that much. uh, I think 5e is a fairly complex system. I think they've got that playing the game chapter now, which I think is great. I think the new starter set is pretty good at helping somebody get in for the first time. I also know that plenty of people who are teaching kids to play are not using D&D now. They're using Shadow Dark or Vagabond or more sort of light systems that are easier to grasp on your first time out. How do you remind your players to use their magic items without reminding them to use their magic items? Sometimes I just say, like, the player character certainly knows that they have the ring of blow everything up, even though the player might forget. So if the player goes, there's 30 dudes, I'm just going to walk up and hit one of them, I might ask, is there a reason you're not using your ring of blow everything up? And they go, oh yeah. Other times, I trust the other players to do it. Encourage an environment where the players help each other out. They all want to blow everything up. Can I be very selfish and request a soundbite? Yeah, sure. Congrats on making it through your... Hang on. One more take. Congrats on making it through your Gold Blood campaign, Nova Prime. There you go. I hope it helped. Do you have any advice on how to introduce the concept of repercussions for player actions to a group who's typically used to goofing off, being able to disrespect NPCs? Example, introducing Vengeful Gods. I think Vengeful Gods is a hell of a place to start. I would make it personal. I would, make me believe in the world, make me believe in this NPC. If the players are used to goofing around, then the Vengeful God smites them down. They go, oh my god, the DM's being a dick. So if the players goof around, make them, see if they goof off against a person that is a real person, and then see if they come back around. Or another way to do it is, wanted posters or bounties on their head. Colin asks, how often do you do combat in Theater of the Mind? Any tips on how to do so when you don't feel like there's enough time for a battle map? If there's more than like 2 or 3 creatures, I tend to get out the battle map. If AoE is going to matter, I tend to get out the battle map. Sometimes I just draw a really bad battle map because it will be quicker. But the thing that I tend to do is, if it's a simple monster, if it's one creature or whatever, then I might just do a Theater of the Mind. But ideally, I try and do as much as I can with a battle map. I like minis. I like the grid. Joker's Demise says, you strike me as the kind of guy who holds a door open for someone, but when they're uncomfortably far away, so they have to do that little half-step hustle. Thanks. I think. Your enthusiasm has helped keep me inspired, even beyond D&D. Thank you so much. Saw, local piano man. Have you ever thought of making your own RPG system? Yes. I've made 2. They're pretty bad. Do you ever interact with the RPG design space? I like 5e. I'm generally not that upset by what it does, and the things that bug me about it are often fixed in other systems, and then those systems have bigger things that bug me, and that's usually a barrier of entry to me. My solution has not been to design my own RPG. It's just been to see if I can't patch on the things that bug me so that I get as close to what I want with as little work as possible. But I have designed RPGs twice. They were fairly early on in my D&Ding, my RPGing, and they're bad. Hi, Fork. Long time no see. Hey, Lou, congrats on the job. Oh my god. Congratulations. Any advice on satisfying endings to campaigns? I'm 5 sessions out from the finale of our 6-year campaign. I've put a lot of effort and thought into it, but I'm worried about it falling flat. Check out our boss fight video. I think if you've got a good climactic final battle, if it's D&D, I'm assuming. If you've got a good climactic final battle, you are able to usually make it feel like it's been worth it. So I would say, level up at the penultimate session. Do the big final battle as this final session. And then have a final_2 final epilogue session. If it's a long campaign, 6-year campaign. And just talk to everybody about what they do. sort of hand the DM reins over to them and say, you describe to me what happens next and where you go and what you're doing. That would be kind of my basic advice. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. You could also make a list of loose plot threads. If you can find 5 or 6 loose plot threads and just sort of quickly mention that they are being tied up over the course of the penultimate, the final, and the epilogue, then you can usually make everybody feel like this is the end of the story. It would have ended here. And that's usually plenty. Hi Salka, how you doing? Have you thought about reviewing other RPG systems in the future? Maybe. The thing is, if I want to do a review, I really want to sit down and I want to play the game properly. And at the moment, I just don't have the time for it. Like, Quinn's Quest does amazing RPG reviews, but that's because that guy and his friends play a whole campaign in the system. And I think anything less than that, I would feel uncomfortable about it. But then there are sometimes I read RPG systems and I think, I don't want to play this. Which means if I make the review, all I'm doing is talking badly about a game that I didn't like, that was somebody else's labor of love. And as somebody who just made a game and was a labor of love, and there are people out there talking badly about it, of course there are, it's a thing you made and put out there, that's what happens, I would just feel horrible. So I'm not particularly excited about reviewing TTRPG systems. I've thought a lot about whether or not I'm going to do the Draw Steel review, and I'm waiting until I get the physical hardcover book shipped to Iceland. I backed it on day one, so I hope I get it. And I might do a review of that. Same with Daggerheart. I have the physical copy, but I just haven't managed to play a campaign yet. The channel keeps me plenty busy, and I play 3 sessions a week sometimes, so just finding the time to actually be able to play an adventure in a system has made it so that I don't want to do a half-assed review. I really want to put my heart and soul into it, and I don't want to do a review for something I vehemently dislike, which there is plenty of. There's plenty of systems that I read and I just kind of hate, but I'm not going to talk about them because I think that's just bad form. I don't think anybody needs that. I don't need to platform somebody in order to tear them down. I think that's a bad use of my time and your time as the audience. I'd much rather tell you about something I like. So if I play a whole adventure and I like it, I will make a review. Even if I like it and there are things I don't like about it, but I like the whole thing, bits of it or as an idea or as a concept or I think it's worthwhile on its own, I might make a review. What is the name of the Icelandic folklore? It's the Deacon of Dark River, or Djáknin á Myrká. How delayed is this chat? About yay. Hi, Anna. Question, when preparing, how do you stop yourself from getting caught up in the details? I have time pressure. If I start preparing a session now, the session prep time will expand to fill whatever time I have. So I'll start preparing now, but I don't have a game until, a week and a half from now at the moment. I was just talking about how busy I was. This is the only free week I have in ages, and I've only got 2 sessions this week. So the allotted task will expand to fill whatever time I give it. So I make sure that I only give myself a little bit of time. I start prepping usually an hour, 2 hours before the session, and I just have to get everything done in that time that I want to get done. I don't count world building in that. I do that for my own enjoyment. How do you think your background, job, culture, experiences have helped you as a DM or creating stories? Man, I don't know. I don't know what makes me different from other people because I live in my head. So I don't really know how to respond to that, Taldo Sakas. I'm sorry. Is Patreon the best way to support Mystic Arts? Yes, by far. Just to, it's a year since we started doing this, just to give you a little bit of a peek behind the scenes. I'm not going to do another Patreon read. But if you want, here are the tiers. Please support us. But the truth of the matter is that Patreon is so by far and away the best way to support us. It is where we get a majority of our revenue. And Patreon is the only reason that we are able to do this for a living. And if we didn't have Patreon, not only would we not be able to afford my salary, wouldn't be able to afford AB's salary or the equipment. It is the only reason we are able to do this for a living. I think it's something like 70% of the channel's revenue. So we put a lot of work into it. That's why there are bonus videos on there. That's why we're doing the zine, which was 57 pages in the first issue. We're probably not going to do 57 pages every time. But that is the lifeblood of this channel. And I would love to get to a place where fewer videos are sponsored overall, and more of the videos are just sponsored by what we do on the Patreon. And that way it sort of becomes its own little Mystic Arts community ecosystem or whatever. And I think that's healthier for everybody. But we'll see if we get there. That's going to require some more growth on the Patreon. And that's why we're doing the zine. We're hoping to get more eyeballs on it, because it is the only way we're able to do what we do. Is there a system or mechanic you haven't been able to talk about or really deep dive into that you're wanting to discuss? I know I'm excited to talk about the negotiation mechanic in Draw Steel. I think it's really fascinating as a piece of design that I don't think I would ever want to use as a DM. But I think understanding it would make someone a better DM. So I will probably put that into either a Draw Steel review, or whenever I get to finally doing D&D has X types of social encounters actually video. That's when I'll get into that mechanic. How do you find the Discord info? It's on the Patreon. If you are a patron, David Harris, you are a patron. I recognize you. If you're a Patreon member, you just Google Patreon, connecting Patreon to Discord. You have to connect your 2 accounts, and then Patreon automatically adds you into the Discord using a bot. So you don't have to click anything other than connect your accounts. Thanks, Fork. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Jerk DM, you're not a jerk. Thank you so much. Happy birthday. Thank you. Normal person question. Do you like snow? I know y'all have got some recently. It's wild to me to see someone who lives in Southeast US. I'd rather be too cold than too warm, personally. I don't like being too warm. You can't open a window to get cold. But if you're too cold, I can't turn on the radiator. But in general, no, I don't think I like snow that much. Mostly because when it's freshly fallen, it's magic. And when it's hanging over all the trees and you look out the window and it's just like mounds of white, that's like being in a Disney movie. That's magic. But after that, it rains, and then the cars drive through it, and then the snow becomes like brown, clumpy chunks. And that's gross and disgusting. D&D question. What's your favorite class to play as a player? Wizard. Not even close. I love wizards. Hope AB's having a good evening too. She's off on band practice right now. Oh my god, I'm so far behind on chat. Well, you know, this is what it is, folks. Game Raven. If kids could learn D&D back in the 80s, they can learn it now. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of talk out there about D&D being too complicated, and I don't think it's wrong. I tried to teach someone recently how to make a character, and they were just staring at me like I was talking in tongues. But there's also something fascinating about opening a book and feeling like it has all the answers. Thanks, Fork. I appreciate all the support. Good God, everyone's being just... Thank you, everybody. Question. How would you talk to a GM that doesn't allow for player agency at their game? I don't know. That sounds like a problem. Valder, that sounds like a problem. I think you got to be real honest there. It's a hard conversation to have because DMs put a lot of work in. So it's really tough to go up to your DM and be like, hey, I have issues. Ideally, what you're able to do is cite a scenario. In this moment, I felt this way because I wanted to do X, and you said it wasn't possible, and I felt like it was reasonable. And I felt like the only reason you said no is because you had other plans, but I want to have plans too. Right? If you could cite a specific example, show receipts. Don't say, you always, or you tend to, or I never get to, then it becomes an argument. But say, in this moment, I felt this way because you did this and I wanted to do this. And if they brush it off, then ideally you can say, you did a similar thing here and I had a similar experience. And then you're having a mature conversation. My players air grievances with me all the time. It's just about communicating. I need a sip of water. By water, I mean caffeine. Mute. How do you incorporate everyone's backstories and objectives when you have a party that's very diverse? I don't want one or two players to steal the spotlight. The only way I've found to incorporate backstories and objectives is that everybody needs to be okay with one player being in the spotlight for a bit. And then the deal is somebody else gets to be in the spotlight for a bit. And you sort of cycle them through. Sorry, somebody asked about AP. She's at band practice. She's doing the flute thing. She's been having a great time. I don't know if you can see behind me, but that's Silk Song. She just started playing and she's having a blast. Amazing, that game. I don't tend to play those kinds of games, but it blows me away to watch, to see how much like Hollow Knight it is and how nothing like Hollow Knight it looks. But it also looks exactly like Hollow Knight. Like it's the team that worked on that is incredible. But yeah, Leonardo, make sure that people are okay with the rotating spotlight. If that is a deal breaker, then I don't think it's gonna work. Fork's right. Everybody get on the Discord. Oh, that's lovely, Almost Cotton. I'm happy to help. Thanks, Rachel. Why do I think RPG systems are bad? Oh, I'm assuming I answered this and while you were typing it out. Thinking about my opinions about what I think is good or what I think is bad, a lot of the times has to do with what I like doing and what I don't like doing. There are plenty of games that I think are brilliant, but they're just not for me. And most of the times when games introduce like rules for narrative progression, I tend to read them and be like, I'm not interested in this part. I often find plenty of things about those games fascinating and interesting and worthy of study and worthy of putting into my own games or trying out just for those bits alone. But when I see narrative structures in a game, I bounce off it. I'm like, I'm a writer. I know this stuff, and I would much rather not get it told to me, but get to experience it. And even as a player, I'm like, I'd much rather not feel like a writer right now. I want to feel like this person. That's usually the biggest turnoff. Whenever a game introduces like, here's a way to do stories in this game, I tend to not be interested. I would love for the players in me to do it together. Hey, I just watched a random tables video and I really liked it. Could you tell me how you use them in a hex scroll? Like, do you roll every hex? No, once a day. Once a day, and I roll a 1d6, and if it's a 6, it's an encounter. If it's a 5 or 6 in a dangerous area, it's an encounter. If it's a very, very dangerous area, it's a 4, 5, 6, and you get an encounter. And then I roll on the table. And then the table might be a combat encounter. Like in the video, I talk about how it could be an encounter, it could be dialogue. But I roll on the random thing, and I use that to inspire me. I don't know why I checked the door. I could see it in front of me on the screen. Heard somebody walking. Trekiros, what's the one video idea you want to do one day, but you haven't quite had the chance to pull off? I could show you the answer. Hang on. I had this idea that I wanted to review every 5e adventure. Like, fairly in detail, as much as I could. I wanted to read them all the way through. I've played a majority of them. And I wanted to make a review of them. And the thing is, I've started making the video. Here is a shot of me and AB filming, where I'm like posing in front of all the books that I have. And I'm saying I'm going to go read all these books and blah, 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 blah. Oh, I did a mistake. I think I also like slam him on the table. No, hang on. That's for Trek. Stand by. Let me find the right bit. Here we go. Three starter sets. And then I go walk back and I go fetch the next bit of books. And I walk over and I say a line. I slam them on the table. And I want this to be the intro, and then I want the next shot to be whenever I'm done with all of them. And going, hey, I've now read them all. And then I want the video to be over time as I read the adventures. I have no idea if I'll ever finish this. This is highly ambitious, but I figured I'd record the start when I had the idea, and we'll see if I can actually finish it. Haha, Anna called everyone cat. Thanks, Akota Fluff. I really appreciate that. Do I have any recommendations for tools to create dungeon maps? I don't know about tools to make them, but sometimes I just go to Dyson Logos. Dyson Logos is like a map resource. Sometimes I just go browse their site, or I Google, cave Dyson Logos. DYSON logo LOGO. Cave Dyson logo, and then I get a bunch of caves that they've made, or city Dyson logo, and they're all like black and white. They're super usable. They're very map-foo, right? They're brilliant. How do I handle romance between PCs and NPCs? I don't know. I try and make sure I don't say anything I wouldn't say in front of my family. As a rule of thumb. But we're also all friends, and we don't mind talking about all kinds of stuff. So to me, it's not that big a deal. But there have been plenty of instances where I've had a group of players that I wouldn't want to do that in front of. So it's just important that everybody's comfortable. So Christoph, if you're in a situation where you don't think people would be comfortable with it, if there's any doubt in your mind, just skip it. If you are really serious and your players would be interested in it, then you can sort of start, nudging your way forward and see where that takes you. And sometimes that's just as simple as having somebody do a little thing. No kiss, nothing explicitly, but like somebody smiles in an odd moment at you, or something like that. And if the player doesn't immediately bite, back off, right? Just back right off. But you could try a little bit of that. But I would suggest like making sure people are on board, talking about it before the campaign starts. There are people who do like fill out sheets. I asked my players, and some of them were like, I don't mind these kinds of romance things at the table, but I mind these 3 of them if done to me. And some of those players then went to me and were like, that applied to other PCs, that doesn't apply to you. I'm okay if an NPC and I flirt. And I was like, okay. So I collected data and I try to figure it out. Stephanie Plays Games on YouTube has a great video on this. Covers like her with an orc. It says like marriage in D&D or romance in D&D or something like that. Go check that out. She does a way better job of explaining it than I do. What are your favorite RPGs other than D&D? Real Extras asks. Call of Cthulhu. It's so radically different. I would only ever play Call of Cthulhu if I wanted to play Call of Cthulhu. There's no part of me that goes, I could be doing this in such and such system. I had a lot of fun in Paranoia, but I'd only ever do that for like a one-shot or something. Same with Call of Cthulhu, I'd never do a campaign in it. Masks of Nyarlathotep I think is fascinating, but I doubt I would actually have fun playing the whole thing. Question, how far in advance do you plan boss battle stat blocks? When I need them, then I plan them. I tend not to plan more than one session ahead. I might do an outline of what I think this adventure might look like, or what the sort of different chapters are about. I'll write a paragraph saying, at these levels I expect them to be doing this kind of stuff. But then everything is fluid, and I just do the next bit I can do. How much do you pull back the curtain for your players? Do you reveal things that weren't actually prepared ahead of time, etc.? Windoozle, hilarious name. I try to only pull back the curtain if I think it's going to make them feel more at ease, or more like I know what's going on, or more like they had an effect. If it's going to improve the experience. If I'm just doing it to show off, I did this all on the fly, a lot of the times I think that's bad advice. I have done it. I'm not perfect. I have ego. But I genuinely would try to maintain that, like, if the players go, oh my god, could we have done this? It's great if you can say, yeah, I prepared that. I wouldn't show them the prep. In fact, I do these Daði diaries where I post the prep online. I tell my players, even if you're not in these sessions, or even if it's about somebody else, or even if there are no spoilers in here, you probably shouldn't watch these because they may sort of give a peek at how little I know about the things you think are the main thing. So, it's all about being a bit of a showman. Stanislav, I already answered that. DJCS, thank you so much. Yeah, Wolfpack, it's Silksong. Sorry, I'm behind on chat. Hey, Steve Anthony, welcome to being a novice. Sorry, my collar's bugging me. Baby Ranboo, didn't I answer this? Upcoming collabs? Thomas Fitch, Heroes of Faerun. 5e is the worst approachable version of D&D yet made? Travis R. No. No, Travis. Have you read the other editions? Good God. I do have a couple of videos coming out where I explain D&D. Now, I think they're probably going to do terribly on the algorithm. So if you're a DM and you're tired of explaining D&D to your players, please share them, because otherwise nobody's going to watch. Hey, Peter! Everybody go say hi to Peter. Tales from Elsewhere is, if you want to talk about RPG design or the art of RPGs, go check out Peter. His channel is all about that stuff, and he is brilliant. Extras, do you think mechanics for political intrigue or social combat or negotiating are ever worth it to integrate into a broader system? Totally. I tend to just not like those things, but I've always wanted to do like a Civ style armies, domain, finances, settlement building stuff for D&D with ships and navies. I wanted to make that expansion the sort of war game parallel to D&D. That's something I've been excited about. But I wouldn't want it to systematize how to get an ally. Like, those are the things I think are often weird. So, I don't want to be able to roll a die and go, okay, you've gotten an ally. I want that to be the roleplay. I want to build a complicated domain system, like my nonsense spreadsheet that apparently some people want me to talk about, but good God. I want to build a complicated domain system that acts as a story engine that creates new stories. I really don't want a system that is taking away the roleplay. I want it to create new roleplay. I want to roll on an event table and get a D&D adventure out of it. I don't want to roll on an event table, and that means I have to make a die roll with a domain stat, and then it all goes away. How do you like the progression in games like Call of Cthulhu or Dragonbane, where it's levelless and more skill-based? I think it's cool. Yeah, any of those things can be fun. I remember playing the Star Wars system, and they had like a XP to buy features thing. I thought it was really cool. Would you try doing a false Hydra someday? I don't think so. I think it's really... Gobi has a good video on the false Hydra. You can check out Gobi on YouTube and see that. But I don't know. I don't know what it is. For some reason, it's not that I think it's like bad form or anything. I know there are people out there who have that opinion. It's more that I don't... It doesn't excite me. Maybe it's just the style of D&D I run. Gunnar, oh my god, thank you so much. You're doing it pro? You're pro DMing now? Hang on, I want to interview you. How do you like that? Are you having fun? Does it pay okay? I know some people have tried it, and I'm always surprised at how little DMs are charging. That may be outrageous. I mean, I live in Iceland, where you wouldn't believe the price of groceries. Avi just paid like $28 for a Starbucks here. Hey, good night, go chase your dreams. The worst thing that could possibly happen is you're back to where you started. So, why not? When designing something, Jason Moran asks, hang on, so Stormer, hang on, I'll do Jason first. When designing something, how do you determine if something is too much? I tend to let my imagination run wild and overcomplicate things because I have more and more ideas. If the design I'm doing doesn't fit in my head, if I can't look at it in the middle of a session and remember how it worked, it's too much. Sometimes I design little subsystems. They went to this town and I wanted there to be a mechanic for like how much the people in the town trust the players. And I thought a lot about it. And in the end, I was like, it's a D10. And it just goes up by one step if they do this thing, up by one other step if they do that thing. It's just a +1, +1, +1. Accumulates up to 10. 10 is the maximum trust. If they get to 10, then this happens. That way, I could scroll through my obsidian, and the ability was there, and I was like, oh, yeah, okay. If it's anything more than that, I've gone too far. Stormer454, what is the video of yours that you would most like to revisit? I think the 5-room dungeon video, the original one, we did revisit it, sort of. We made another 5-room dungeon video. The far fewer people saw, but that's okay. But I tend not to dwell on that stuff. I know plenty of YouTubers, they might take down an old video, they might sort of beat themselves up over the views, and I've done that. I've been devastated over a video performing badly that I really believed in. But I try to move on because I have other things I want to do. I have other videos I want to make. So if I'm distracted by a video that performed badly or I want to change something, that's time I could use to make my next one better. And the same is true for DMing. If I'm beating myself up over a session that went really badly, that can't help me. The session is gone, right? So what I try and do, and I just try and learn from it and put it into the next session. Put it into, I messed these things up, not going to do them again. There's a thing we often say when we're playing. When we do something, we say, that was really fun. I never want to do it again. And what we mean is, we like that it was different, and we like that it was unique. We don't want it to become standard. And I remember we said this when we played Tomb of Horrors. We were like, oh, God, I'm so glad we did this. I had a blast. Let's never do this again, right? And there are plenty of times where we have those sessions, and we were like, this was great. Let's never do it again. And sometimes that's what we do with videos. We did one that was 11 seconds, and it's just me saying, welcome to Mystic Arts. But it's like all the videos we had uploaded up until that point. And the comments were angry. They were like, I got excited. I have the notification on, or I saw this in my sub box, and I've never clicked anything so fast, and this is all I get. And I was like, well, I guess we're not doing that again. That's okay. Iantiel, question, when rolling for encounters, how do you decide what time of day it happens? Or do you have a separate roll to see if the party gets attacked during the night? Aha, yes, I do. I do have a sort of consult the bone situation. Thing is, the point of that random encounter video, a lot of people get sort of lost in the sauce. They're like, okay, you have this system, how does it work? And the point of the video is, the system is just meant to inspire you. So you can take any mechanic and surrender it to the dice. You can decide what time of day does it happen. Well, you can roll a D3, day, evening, night. 1, 2, 3, roll it. You can roll 2D4 and just make that be the hour. Technically, that means nothing ever happens at 1 a.m., but okay. You can, find a D24. I own one of those. Roll that. That's the hour it happens on. You could find 2 dice. One is white and one is black. And if it's the white one, it's at day. And if it's black, it's at night. Or maybe you do it with yellow and blue or whatever dice you have. And the higher one is the time of day it is. And if they're equal, it's twilight. Or you can go, it's a D8 and I divide the day into 8s. Or it's a D6, I divide it into 6. You can do whatever. Or you can pick something. And if you roll the die, you just pick up any die, imagine what it is in your head, and roll it. And if you disagree with the result, that means you're too opinionated to have rolled the die in the first place. Next time you feel that opinionated, don't roll the die. But right now you've rolled it. It's up to you whether you use it or not. It is supposed to be a sounding board that inspires you. If it doesn't inspire you, don't use it. And if you're trying to think of how do I systematize this, I think you're kind of missing the point. Sometimes I roll a d6 for random encounters. Sometimes I get a 6 and I think, I don't want the random encounter now. I'll save it for tomorrow. Sometimes I do something else. Sometimes I just go, I think it's time for a random encounter. Sometimes the players have been talking too long and I haven't rolled a random encounter 8 times in a row and I go, we're due. Roll initiative. Stop talking. A bear owl shows up and sweeps the smallest character off their feet. You're just meant to be inspired. If you're trying to look for anything more, you have to ask yourself why. And the reason a lot of people, I think, are asking or trying to figure out, like, what is the rule of this, is because they want to be able to say, the dice said it should happen. But you're not running the dice. You're running the world. You're running the story. What does the story want? And what does the story want isn't what you want. It's the empathy of the room. This is the point of the video. The room has a tempo. And you can often feel, it would be great if we did a fight right now. Or it would be really bad if we did a fight right now. Or if I just got a random encounter and it says it should happen right now. And it says it should be the red dragon encounter that I prepared. But I did it last night. And that bores me right now. I don't want to do it twice. I don't think that's fascinating. Maybe you think it is fascinating, then do it. But maybe you think it isn't. And maybe you feel that the players, what they really want right now is just to talk. They just want to have a watch. Then ignore the dice. Run the world. And the world is the table. Read the room. And see what it wants. This is the difference between the prep DM, the guy who made the table, or the, girl, or the they, them, whatever, the person who made the table, and the person running the game. And the person running the game doesn't have to be the subject of the prep DM. They have a different obligation. Their obligation is to everyone around the table. To listen, to watch, and to try and figure it out. Sometimes that means you do the random encounter. Sometimes that means what we need right now is for everyone to believe that these random encounters are random. So I'm going to trust the dice. Sometimes that means I'm going to roll the dice in front of them. They're all thinking, God, I really hope we don't get a random encounter. It might make or break us. Well, pick up the die, walk over to them and say, if I get a 5 or 6, it's a random encounter, and roll. And watch as they take a sigh of relief, or they go, oh, damn. And they believe that it was fair. And if they're feeling, overly chill in a way that is almost like, whatever could happen, maybe they need the random encounter. But you need to read the room. And you need to learn, if I do this, how do they respond? And you need to start building up that database. I think it's the best way to do it. Gunnar asks, Strat finds an iPod or Zune from his multiversal victim and finds a song he absolutely loves. What is it? I'm too sexy for my shirt. Thanks, Techmaster. We love you too. Hiddy Nikolai asks, I like world building, but playing through it with a party messing up the world I lovingly made is the thing I really love. Is that the same for you? Yeah. I could have written a book. Somebody asked that earlier. I could have. I don't want to. I want my players to ruin it. Daniel Zink, I still get confused about my rogue player using sneak attack and assassinate with dual daggers and then hiding every turn. Any tips to keep the math easy? You gotta trust your players. I don't know what edition you're playing. If it's 2024 and they've got a mastery property and they got Nick, they should be able to do that. Sneak attack is just a thing that happen on their daggers. They obviously don't get it on both of them. You can ask your player to explain the mechanic to you and see if you can spot any errors in their thinking or read out the mechanics to you. But that's about it. You gotta trust them. If the players want to cheat, they could just roll natural 20s the whole time. And then you can tell them, hey, I don't like that. Either you confront them or trust them. But I would suggest, right now, just ask them, like, hey, how are you able to do that? I do that all the time. Sometimes I'm not even thinking my players are cheating. I'm just like, how does that work? That seems impossible to me. And the player goes, let me tell you, I cracked the code. I do this and this and this and this. Oh, wow. They really thought about it. Awesome. Thanks, Coldred. I'm happy to hear that you like the crafting rules. Is this pure Q&A? I guess. I was gonna show you some stuff from the zine, but we can also just ask questions. I talked a little bit. Sorry, I'm having another sip here. Hang on, mute. Caffeine. I talked a little bit about sort of how this all started at the beginning, and then I've just started answering questions. We can do a poll. Hang on. Poll. Do you want more Q&A, or do you want a little break to talk about some behind-the-scenes stuff? I'm going to post it in chat, and then I'm going to have to scroll up again to keep catching up, because I'm going to read the questions that people have asked already. How long do your players usually spend in hexes? How does a day of traveling often go? If they're just traveling, sometimes they go many, many hexes in a day. We just go hex, 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 hex. But if there's a dungeon in there, that might be multiple sessions. The hex grid is not meant to be prescriptive. You don't use it to determine how long a session should be. You just use it as a sort of guide to measure distances, and then you use everything else is just time or the mood at the table. Oh, Travis said it's the most approachable system? Okay, I'm sorry, Travis. I'm sorry. Almost Cotton says, considering running the broadsheet. The broadsheet? Do you all know we made a zine? It's called The Broadsheet. It's available now on the Patreon. It's got an adventure in it. Almost Cotton just is considering running the adventures as an anthology campaign. What's your vague idea for leveling and scaling as they continue? In the broadsheet, each issue is going to be one level. So this is level 1, and the next adventure we do is level 2. But there are adventure hooks in this that are in the district. And if you do them, you could do them at level 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever. Like, you can scale them up or down. They're not terribly prescriptive. They're mostly adventure seeds. But the idea is that you do each issue as one level. How do you determine loot? Give gold overall handle rewards. There are guides in the DMG that I read at some point, and I mostly internalized them. And now I just sort of vibe it out. I love rolling on random tables for loot. It's one of my favorite things. I also think the players love it. Sometimes I just ask them to roll a dice. It's a bit of showmanship, right? You go, hey, you should roll a D100. What do I find in this chest? Roll a D100. They go, ooh. Oh, 99. They love that. That was a little play. Hey, Salty Nick's here. Hi, Nick. I went to the grocery store recently, and there was a Haagen-Dazs salted caramel next to a tub of Nick's, and I just went, oh, and I took a picture of it. I should send it to you. I thought of you in the grocery store, Nick. Peter asks, what lesson do you think the Greybeards can learn about running D&D today? I ask because I found your videos so educational despite many years in the hobby. Oh, I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I wanna interrogate the Greybeards. I posted a question like 3 different Discords the other day. I wanted to find somebody who could tell me about the original publication of City State of the Invincible Overlord back in '76, and I couldn't. So I'm probably gonna have to rely on the Wikipedia page for the facts. All the graybeards I know are too young and handsome. That's you, Peter. No, I genuinely, I don't know. I wish I could help you. I think there are a lot of graybeards out there, but I think this is true of everybody. I don't want to generalize anybody, but I think there are plenty of people out there, graybeards included, who feel like they've done it a certain amount of time and therefore they don't have anything to learn. I think that's death. I think if you find yourself in that position, you've lost it. How do you run dragons? They never land. Fly, breathe, fly, breathe. You think that they've got an attack and it's an AoE, but if they're flying and it's a line, does it just go on one square? I don't run them that way. I let them do the line on the grid. They're a dragon, they can go zap and fly. Do you use safety tools in your games? I did ask everybody to answer like a safety toolkit thing. I put it on a spreadsheet. I try and look at it every month and make sure I'm okay. But I'm really bad about it. I have on multiple occasions done something and then later on a player is gone. That was on my thing. And I was like, oh God, I'm sorry. And they were like, no, it was fine. Or no, whatever. But, if you do ask for that stuff, make sure you follow it because they all thought, sometimes they were like, are you collecting this so you can deliberately be mean to me? And I was like, no, I swear to God. I swear to God, I'm not. Every time I scroll down chat gently, it sort of blasts me down to the bottom. Beep, 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 beep. What if it could be fun instead? I use that quote all the time. Hell yeah. If each broadsheet is one level, I can't wait for May 2027 when I can start a level 20 campaign of Blackheart. We're going to do... Here's a little... I see the BTS break is winning. So hang on. Let me see. How many questions are left? I think I'm caught up. Yeah, I am. So we did an outline. I see the BTS break is winning. So let's talk about that. We did an outline for the first 14 issues of the zine, which is going to be one anthology campaign, and it's going to be from level 1 to 14, with a finale 14 months from now. Well, 13. We're in November already. I have to go write the scene. And we're gonna do one level per, and that's going to be one modular adventure you can either run as a one-shot, as an anthology, or you can string them all together into a campaign. And then each district is going to have adventure seeds in it, so you can do multiple adventures per zine, but only one of them is fully written out. The others are seeds for you to make into your own campaign. So you get the best of both worlds. You get to both get something ready and run it, and you get to make your own stuff, and these things will talk to each other. We've written it so that the adventures go into the district, and the district has stuff that is tied to the adventures. NPCs from the pre-written adventures have quests for you later. So these things all sort of bridge together. And we've done an outline for all of them, and each zine is going to have 3 chapters. Chapter 1 is the adventure, which is going to be sometimes long, sometimes short. We'll have to figure it out, but the idea is that you can ideally play it in a night or two. Chapter 2 is going to be a district of the city. Now, the city has 31 boroughs. So some of them are going to have multiple boroughs in them. And the boroughs are going to be different levels of detail. Like, for instance, once you get into the east and west publics of Blackguard. Let me see if I can find a map of Blackguard. Blackguard. This is not a ready map. I'm still working on it. This is going to be in the next zine. This is the map. And the first issue was in the Argent sector. The second issue is going to be in the Interchange, and the third issue is going to be in Bank Street. And then you've got this sort of section of the city you can immediately play in. Later on we're going to go into the East Publix, and you can see that's a really big neighborhood. And it's not going to be as detailed as the inner city, and I think that makes sense. I live in a suburban area. There are not that many points of interest out here. but there are way more if I go downtown. So I think that makes sense just as a way to structure a city. The thing that we're going to do is, so once we've got these 3 issues, you've got a little block of the city here that you can do adventures in. And hopefully that means that you'll be comfortable just to run here in the northern section. I think after that we're going to do print board, and we're going to bounce around the inner city a bit, and then occasionally sort of bounce out. We have an outline, I just haven't finished it. I'm sorry, we finished it, but I don't have it in front of me. I have this map in front of me. We did the interchange on stream the other day. We did a map stream where I started making the interchange. I've now finished that map. I can see if I can't find it for you. Here it is. This is how it's going to look on the page, kind of. You can see here I've got all the details of the neighborhoods and stuff. Now, this hasn't been spell checked. I'm certain that Magnus, the editor, and my co-writer is going to say, Daði, you can't spell those things, or you can't write that down. But here they are. They're all going to be sort of... and then each of these bits is a highlighted area in the magazine and tells you what's there. And several of them have adventure hooks. I think around half, maybe less. So you go into, let's say you go into the Cocktail Night Inn. You want to have a cocktail night, obviously. And they're going to have some quest. It's an inn. Obviously, there's going to be a quest in the inn. So that's the interchange. That goes right there. And that was a sort of more detailed map. Same you go with the Argent sector. You can see here Silver Street, Whiskey Street, Black Street, Mallory Road, Grand Union Terminal. So it's only got one thing keyed on it. But once we go to the Argent sector annotated map, you can see here's Grand Union Terminal. Here's a whole bunch of other stuff. And I moved Silver Street and Whiskey Street. I'll fix it when I get to the other map. Things are always adjusting, always moving. Nothing's holy. Not until we publish it, at least. And here we did adventures in the Bandit's Lair. We had a little Easter egg for Peter. If you're fans of Tales from Elsewhere, he's in the Bandit's Lair. The proprietor is a sheriff named Peter. These things all sort of connect together. And the adventure is the train. You get on the train, you get into Blackguard, and then you leave, and then you're in this district. So over the course of the first 2 issues in the zine, we're going to make it so that the first issue has the adventure and the district, or the borough. And the 3rd chapter is Atroxia, the campaign, like the continent, right? I can bring up a map of Atroxia here. There it is. If you want to run Atroxia in your D&D game, this map, along with all the sort of lore about it, that the history briefly, what kind of campaign arcs you could do, what kind of themes it's all about, that's all in the magazine. And I've also got a little zoomed in area here in the Crownland, and I sort of briefly tell you what it's about. Not, we don't have descriptions on all these towns yet. Maybe that's a later thing. We'll get to that. Ask me about that later if I forget. So... Oops, I'm back. I clicked the wrong button. I've got so many buttons here, you won't believe. I've got one that just summons the Dungeon Guy jingle. Anyway, the issue 1, adventure. Issue 2, burrow. Issue 3, the extra chapter. Sorry, issue 1, no. Too much caffeine. Chapter 1 in each issue, adventure. Chapter 2, the burrow. Chapter 3, something else, the 3rd chapter, right? So in the first issue, Chapter 3 is Atroxia. In the 2nd issue, Chapter 3 is Blackguard in detail. Well, sort of broadly, I should say. And then in the 3rd issue, we are thinking it's going to be subclasses. We might do subclasses. We might do species later. We're going to do magic items. We're going to do monsters. We're going to do a whole bunch of stuff as the 3rd chapter. And it's always going to have a little bit of lore about what's going on. And then those are going to rotate. So 14 issues. Now, that's the thing I should remind you about. 14 issues, then we're going to be done with Blackguard. What are we going to do afterwards? I don't know. We might start doing a sort of, these towns, just, a sentence about each, or a paragraph about each, or a chapter about each. I don't know. There's a lot of towns. We might go write about them. Or we might go and do a different part of Atraxia. We've done Blackguard in 14 months. We haven't yet, but we will have done Blackguard in 14 months. So maybe we'll do Loggers County, where my adventures have taken place. Or maybe we'll go to the south and do Cowboy D&D out in Gunlock and Dullwater with Clayton Canyon and the Westwood. That would be really fun. We don't know yet. We are just... Right now, we're focusing on getting Blackguard done in time. But the idea is that we can sort of build out the campaign setting as we go along, and we can sort of expand on it, and we can try and respond to feedback. So as people say, we like these bits, we don't like those bits, or we want more of this and less of that, we can start to form what the zine is going to look like. And we can create a sort of structure around it, right? And start building out this kind of setting with our patrons. I don't know how we're going to do that. We're going to have to figure that out over time. But that's going to be really exciting. I am so incredibly excited about it. Hang on, there's a question. If you can ask me Blackguard questions, I will answer all of them. Where's the finance district? There's many of them. Bank Street's one of them. Interchange is another one. Bank Street's sort of, stock markets and that kind of stuff. Interchange is a big market. Key Wharf has all the ships. Argent Sector has a bunch of silver. They all make money somehow. Mostly the inner city, at least. What's the main reason why this city is here? It was built around the Obsidian Palace, which is a fort made by a great worm that once ruled the entire mundane world. See that big tower right here in the middle? That big tower? That's what remains of the Obsidian Palace to this day. It is a palace built for a giant dragon. So it's got this huge pillar in the center of the city, and it's still standing to this day, and it's been rebuilt. Like parts of it have been rebuilt or redesigned, or new architects have come along, and it's still working. It is now the head of the executive branch of the government. That's where the president sits. Before that, it's where the emperor sat. That's why it's in the emperor's quarter. Before that, we're a king, and then an emperor before that, and then eventually a dragon. All of that stuff is in the zine. The lore of how this city came to be. All of that stuff, we'll go into that. Peter wants Cowboy D&D. Hey, Peter, I wanna make Cowboy D&D. I'm really I go to a cabin once a year. I go to a cabin more than once a year. I'm Icelandic. We go to cabins, but once a year we go to a cabin and we all put on fake mustaches, cowboy hats, and we talk in a southern accent. We drink whiskey. I smoke a pipe, and then we play a cowboy adventure. And that is so much fun. That is just the best. So I would love to go build that out into cowboy characters and all that kind of stuff. What kind of trade does the river conduct? All of them. Big trade. It is the center of the largest trading empire in the world. Blackguard is on the Red Line, which is massive. There's only one crossing across it. It's Redford, and it's sort of built on this fork. And it goes out into the entire world. They trade everything. Cabin in the Woods. No, it's on a prairie, actually, if you'd believe it. Cowboy D&D is great because you do like snakemen with hats. Basically, Cowboy D&D is like Django, not Unchained. No. Rango with Johnny Depp with Chameleon and what's it, Rattlesnake Ridge or whatever. No, hang on. Something like that. Rattlesnake Rattlesnake. Anyway, I've broken. Here I can show you how we sort of do these issues. This is the art we get from Brimrun. I'm going to show you a little bit of the work in progress. I hope the artist doesn't crucify me for this. But I sort of tell her what the issue is going to be, what kind of art we need. And I get her like references. This is Sherlock Holmes or the Grand Union Terminal, Flatiron Building. We talk about the oldest place from Control as a reference for what the interior of the Obsidian Palace might look like. We talk about brutalist structure for it a bunch. You can see here's like an original concept of it, of the cover page. Train station, Argent Sector. Mallory Building. Look, then she does a 3D model. She does sketches, she does a 3D model. And then colors it, and then draws on top of it, and then we get our rendering with lighting and rain and stuff. I think it was when I saw this piece I realized that it's a lot like Gotham. Black art is a lot like this sort of, like Gotham. I particularly, I think it's like, there's a Batman issue called like Batman by Gaslight or something like that, which I think is very on point. Oh, here's the final. Look at that. Gorgeous. I keep having to ask, she puts a bunch of Victorian people in, and I'm always like, can we get more D&D characters? So here's a little dwarf, or there's a tiefling buying the newspaper. And on the newspaper stand it says, President declares emergency over Midsea Isles, which is a thing I asked her to add, because that might be important. Same here, you get the train station, right? You get sort of a 3D mock-up of it, and it's all very rough. Here's an author, for reference, from Career Ladder. Anybody watch that? And then gets more detailed. And then we've got a layout of the Gotham by Gaslamp. Yeah. We got a layout of that. Again, here, this is a cover image. This is the original. I was like, this Obsidian Palace is too elfy. It's too pretty. It's an oppressive building. And then she did this one. Hang on, where's the original? She did like a sketch of just the... Yeah, here it is. Here's what the Obsidian Palace looks like. And it's got these sort of spiky bits we think are like... stalags or like stuff like that, these plinth rock things. What are they called? Salka. What's Stulaberg called in Icelandic or in English? Do you guys remember Salka Rana? It's got that, and it's like these towers and walls, and then we sort of build it out into the cover image. Here's the Argent Sector. Again, it's like a 3D mock-up that gets rendered. You can see the Obsidian Palace in the background. Look at that. God, this is the best. And we get the characters. I describe Lucinda Bell. It's a bust picture. She's a fancy southern lady. And then we get these amazing characters. I'm blown away. And here's the new one. A little bit of a spoiler. I'm not going to show you too much, but it's going to be a haunted house. Here's the map, sort of rough in progress. Not gonna spoil everything. I can't show you. If you guys remember, if you watched the mapping stream, we got art done of the Compass Rose. If you remember the mapping stream we did like a week ago. Look at that. Giant's Causeway. Yeah, that might be it. So, if you want a flintlock fantasy sort of by gaslight setting, it's my setting that I've been running. I've been running. This city has appeared in my D&D games for over 10 years, and we are building it out more and more and more. And it's never been this detailed. And I think I'm ecstatic that I get to see this kind of art, and that Brimon gets to make it. And then I get to show it to all you folks. If you want this kind of thing, it's available obviously on the Patreon. That is how we keep the lights on and how I'm able to do this full time. It's available for Adept members and above. And obviously, if you join us as an Adept member, you also get the entire backlog, like the Hexploration Rules, the Firearms, the Warlord class, the Book of the Profane Word, the Book of the Holy Conduit. You get the Mystic Monsters. You get everything that's on the Apprentice tier, so all the bonus videos. And if you support us over there, that means the world to us. Yeah, that's it. That was the BTS break. I can show you one more thing on this. I'm gonna make sure it's small enough that you can't read any of the text. But here we go. Here's the video backlog. This is what's left of the big bubble board. Each of these is a weekly video that we could do. And I've got plenty of ideas left for somebody who was asking, what do we have? Here it is. This is something we wrote ages ago. We got a little calendar to the side. I'm not going to show you that. Patreon planning. Oh, 4th tier. Somebody was asking about like actual plays. We have thought about doing it. I was saying earlier, I've got a couple of extra cameras. I keep looking up to see if I have them up there, but I don't. we've been wanting to do an actual play for a while, and I'd love to get one started sometime early next year. We'll see if I'm able to, but the idea would be that it'll be set in Blackguard and set in that sort of time. It'll be an adventure I'll run that's parallel to the adventures in the zine, and then whenever that adventure is done, we could maybe publish that on the Patreon or something. And obviously, it would be great if we could eventually put it all into a book. Like if we could take all the zines and reorganize them so it's one book. That would be the coolest thing ever. That would blow my mind. That would be the most amazing thing I've ever done. That is the kind of stuff, I've been doing this for a year now. That is the kind of stuff that I used to think of as a pipe dream when we first had any success on the channel. I was like, maybe one day we can do that. If we get to that point, I genuinely don't know. I might piss myself with excitement. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be vulgar. That's horseshit. I always mean to be vulgar. Blackguard feels like, I don't know what, it's Mistborn. Okay, I'm not familiar. What are the rules on writing something for the setting? I don't understand the question, Stormer. Oh, we're talking about whiskey and stuff? Woodford Reserve. Ooh. Anyway, it's been a pleasure, folks. I'm so excited. We've got so many plans up our sleeves at this point. We really want to make sure that we're delivering to all of you folks who support us. Everyone who's given us super chats today has been, I don't know. This is going to be etched into my memory. The 1 year anniversary. I genuinely never thought. First off, I thought we'd give up. I thought we'd do a couple of months of this, and the views wouldn't get to anything that I would find to be worth the time and effort I wanted to put in. And I thought we'd give up. I didn't want to. I was like, even if things go piss poorly, I'm going to try and do this for at least 6 months and try and get all the sort of basic ideas I have out on a piece of paper. The X types of combat, X types of exploration, the hex scroll video, like those ideas, I was like, I want to get them out, even if nobody watches. And then people were watching, and I don't know. It would have seemed absurd to me to talk about a 2-year plan or a 3-year plan or whatever. But I want to do an actual play. I wanna do 14 issues of this zine. I want you all to know Blackguard, and I want to go do Cowboy D&D, and I want to go do. I have this mega game video that I've been meaning to edit for ages. I still am working on the Lizard Folk for anybody waiting on that. I've got Lizard Folk on my desk right now. Block my face. Look, a lizard man. So I'm excited about that. I think I'm gonna head out. I don't know. Is there anything we gotta do first? Thanks so much for the journey, for letting me do this, for all the support, and thank you so much for being here and just watching. I know plenty of people did super chats, and I talked a bunch about the Patreon. These are all things I'm excited about, but I've also been struggling financially myself, and plenty of times I worked as an artist on a company that had no money for ages. And if you're just here watching, liking, if you comment, if you're subscribed, you're a part of our community, and we want to help. We want to make sure that we make videos that help you, hopefully, at least if nothing else, get you excited to run your next session of whatever it is you're playing. So now I have to think about year 2 and 3. Yeah, I got nothing else to say. We'll pick it up next time. Thanks so much for watching this video. Your support means the world to us, and this channel is run by me and my girlfriend. And if you do want to support us directly, go check out our Patreon. That is how we keep the lights on. And you'll get the zine, you'll get everything else, but also you'll You'll make me incredibly happy. Especially if you read the zine. If you go on the Patreon and you get the zine, you read it. It's 57 pages. I'd love to know if it's any good. Thanks so much for watching. If you're feeling especially generous, you might like this video. Comment, share, or subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified when we release new videos. And until next time, do me the biggest favor you can, and keep studying the mystic arts. That would mean the world to me.